Yeah, let me, okay, so let's say, for instance, I'm a big believer in never being sore. You should train, and the next day you should wake up feeling good. Okay, you know why?
How's that possible?
Well, because, look, okay, that's a great example. Let's say your energy levels are
We're talking about fit people, by the way, right?
Every human being.
So guys never worked out before?
Even if first day, never trained.
How is it possible to work out and not be sore?
No problem. Beautiful.
Okay, here we go.
So, let's say there's something called rate of perceived exertion. Okay? So, let's say I make you do pull-ups, and let's say the maximum amount of pull-ups you can do, the maximum amount of pull-ups is 10. Let's keep a nice round number. At 11, you couldn't do 11. If I pointed a gun at you, you couldn't do 11. Should I make you do 10 pull-ups on our workout? No. I'm going to make you do 5. Why? Because I'm setting you up to work the next day. The next day we're going to do 5. And the next day we're going to do another 5. And then we're going to do 6. When 6 is really easy, we're going to do 7. Why? If you count, if you did 10 pull-ups on Monday, you're going to be sore till Thursday. Let's say it's really your max. So Thursday, you've only done 10 pull-ups. From Monday to Thursday, you've only done 10 pull-ups. Me, I've been doing 5 pull-ups every day. So I'm at 20 pull-ups already, 25 pull-ups. I have more volume than you. Now, if you add up at the end of the year, who trained more? I've trained way more than you. So let's say I go to jiu-jitsu practice. I'm doing jiu-jitsu every single day, 3 rounds, 5 days a week. That's 15 rounds. You go in twice a week, but you kill yourself. You do 5 rounds each day. You push yourself those last 2 rounds and you burn yourself out. I still did 15. You're at 10. At the end of the year, I've done countless rounds more. I've had so much more training than you. So how much training can we pack in the week? That's the real question. How much volume can you expose your athlete to? So I always tell people, look, exercise can produce energy. So let's say I'm feeling like a 7 out of 10. 10 being I'm really like energized. 1, I was like really lethargic, feeling like I need to lay down. And 7, I'm feeling good. Okay? If I get up and I do a right amount of exercise, the right amount, I can feel like an 8.5. Exercise can give me a tonic effect, like drinking this coffee. So let's say I just do some jumping jacks, I hit the back for a couple of rounds, I'm feeling good. Once you get that high, shut it down. Don't go into the phase where your body's beat up, tight, broken up. Don't redline the body. That's only for training camps, for a small period of time. Why? Because you get a little bit more from the system. But in the long run, you get less. In the long run, you've taxed the system. So if you do that regularly, by the time you actually get good, you'll be broken up. That's why I do a lot of flow training. Have you ever heard of Mihai Csikszentmihalyi's flow?
No.
Okay, so can you Jamie, can you look up a flow chart? It'll be so much simpler. Like just put in flow in the workplace or flow chart. This is pure genius. This guy is a pure genius. Basically, he went and he coined the term flow. So like when you're in a state of flow, we've all been in a state of flow. The number one way to know that you're in a state of flow is time flies by. I'm sure sometimes you've done podcasting and you're like, whoa, is it 3 hours already? Yeah. It was a great podcast. You know, the one where you have the worst guest or you're having the worst workout, it feels like every minute is an hour. That's a bad, you're not in a state of flow. And a state of flow is you're having the right amount of difficulty, but it's not so difficult that you go into stress, and it's not so easy that you're bored. It's the right amount of challenge. So let's say as simple as playing like Tetris. If I put you on a level that's too high, you're gonna play for 5 minutes, you're gonna be like, I'm done. If I put you on a level too easy, you're gonna be like, this is boring. If I put you at the right amount of level, see, that's a flow channel. So if the challenge is too high, you'll meet anxiety. If it's too low, you're bored. When I go in the practice room, I'm trying to create flow. I'm having fun. Training should be addictive. Imagine training was addictive. Everybody would train, everybody would be fit. But people always go into anxiety. They go and they slam their body. Then I have to convince you to do it again 3 days later, 2 days later. And you're like, dude, the mental energy is going to take me to get there. Like, it shouldn't be. Training should be a pulling force. It should be pulling you. You want to go training. If you don't want to go training, it's not fun. If it's not fun, you're not going to do a lot of it. And if you're not going to do a lot of it, you're never going to reach mastery. So how do I make it pleasurable? How to make it fun? I have to be in a flow state. And you can get into a flow state in almost anything. But when you're out of that flow state, cut it. We're going to get further. We're going to do more training if we cut it today and come back in tomorrow. Because I'm a big believer in consistency over intensity. Intensity should be done once in a while, because by nature, intensity can only be done once in a while. If you're going hard every day, you're not really going hard every day. You can't go your max every day. There's a cost to going to your max. Can you sprint every single day? You cannot sprint every single day. It's ludicrous. You could sprint once or twice a week. The best sprinters in the world, they sprint once or twice a week. Nobody sprints every day. Because intensity, by nature, entails that you need to take a break. Because if you don't need to take a break, you didn't really go to your maximum intensity. If you lift your maximum lift, the maximum amount of reps you can, the maximum weight you can lift. If you do 2 reps, that wasn't your max. Because if it was, you wouldn't have a second rep in you. You understand?
Right.
I would have to give you a break for you to have a second rep. So we didn't find your true max, right? Intensity, maximum effort entails you have to stop because it's the maximum. There was no more reserves. There are no more reserves.
So what do you think about people that say there's no such thing as overtraining?
Here's the John Denahart narrative, and he coins it really, really well. He says, look, it's under rest. So he says, look, you can overtrain if you didn't give your body the rest later.
Yeah.
But he says, look, no matter how hard I push and practice, if I didn't kill myself, I can rest from it and recover and have super compensation. I agree with that.
Some guys have made great strides with just mental fortitude and mental strength, overtraining the shit out of themselves.
Okay, but can I ask you this?
Yes.
They were successful, yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
but their bodies break down.
Right. But could they have been better if
Possibly.
they used flow? Exactly.
Right.
As
But
good as they
guys
were.
like Dan Gable, for
Right.
example. Like what Dan Gable essentially was done in his 20s, right? In terms of like his body's broken
Right.
down,
Exactly.
knee replacements, hip replacements, that kind of deal.
Let me ask you this. Who wins more often, Russians or American wrestlers?
Russians.
Every time an American wrestler wins, he's like some prodigy. He's rare. It's rare. It does happen, but it's rarely he's a technical master.
Right.
However, you have these Russian guys that win gold medals. You've never heard of them, and they're like Michael Jordans of the sport.
Yeah.
There's just so many of them. They train long, consistent practices. Whereas in America, we do Monday, Wednesday, Friday hard. We kill it. And then you rest Tuesday, Thursday. The Eastern Bloc had a totally different understanding. They're like, it's volume, volume, volume. Near the fight, short and intense. Only near the competition phase. But before that, it's the maximum amount of volume you can. Imagine me and you we're 2 athletes, A and B. You're A, I'm B. You're training jiu-jitsu 3 times a week really, really hard. You're going all out. I'm training jiu-jitsu every single day. My average practice is 2 hours. Your average practice is 2 hours. But when you go in, you kill it. Like you go with all the black belts and you kill it. At the end of the year, I'm averaging 3 practices or 2 practices more than you. So I've had 100 practices more than you by the end of the year. 104 practices. Let's give 2 weeks for vacation. 100 practices more than you. 200 hours more than you have been training. When we roll, your intensity that you put on the mat is going to be irrelevant. Why? Because I've also tasted that intensity periodically. It's not that much of a factor now. When you go super aggressive on me, when you attack me aggressively, I have felt that. I know how to deal with it. Plus, I have an extra 100 hours on you, 200 hours. So I'm going to mangle you. You know what I'm saying? The volume is far more important than the intensity. The intensity, by nature, is need to be done periodically. If you do it every day, it's not intensity.
So how do they structure their training?
They're more playful. You know, they kind of warm up, they kind of flow roll, they do a lot of technique, high emphasis on technique. Now, a lot of people hearing this are gonna be like, well, the Russians also are funded by their government. You know, their government supports them a lot more than maybe an American wrestler. Okay, I agree with that. There are many factors. However, we cannot deny that they're technically, I hate to say the word superior, but they're technically more advanced, technically, when it comes to wrestling. They have a more of a flow understanding. They play around and the practice gets more and more intense until you see them going really, really hard. They're going live, you know? They're going really, really rough. But they were playing. They have a more playful attitude. Look at the Cubans. You ever see Cubans sparring? They're like 50 guys in a room. They're just touch sparring. There's no headgear. There's no mat on the floor. They're literally sparring on concrete. You think they're really trying to drop each other? They're on concrete. I mean, the Cubans are the top boxers. They consistently win gold medals. But in practice room, they're playful. Nobody gets hurt. Like you're saying, the Thais. The Thais are just, if you go in there and you kick a Thai really hard, he won't spar with you anymore. He'll be like, this guy's too amateur. There's a time and place for intensity. I'm not anti-intensity. I think there's a time and place. Like Angelo Dundee was probably arguably the greatest boxing trainer in history. He says, look, fighting is for fight night. In practice, it's only practice. George St. Pierre has that attitude, and I think that's why he's so good and so healthy today. You know, because he never hurts his sparring partners. People line up to want to spar with him. It's a joy to spar with him.
Yeah, I love this idea and I love this approach. I think that we have this attitude that you have to be tough. We have this attitude that you have to work hard. And I mean, I've fallen prey to that many, many times in my life, or you just got to be tougher. You got to work out harder. You got to push harder. But when I read Pavel's stuff, one of the first things that struck me is like, well, yeah, of course, if you just do 5 reps every day and then you won't be sore, you could do it more often, and then your body, like, you get farmer strength. Like,
Exactly.
Where's farmer strength come from? Farmers
Exactly.
they're not going to exhaustion.
No.
You know, they're not
No.
like throwing hay bales to the point where, you know, they're heaving, they put their hands on the knees and like, come on, 5 more.
Exactly. You should never be sore.
Yeah.
If you're sore, you overdid it.
Whoa.
Because I can't train the next day if I'm sore.
Well,
I open the
overdo it
wound.
every time I work out then.
What's that?
I said I've overdone it every time I worked out.
You may have. You may have. You gotta
There's a lot of people listening to this right now going, wait a minute, what? How the fuck?
make your workouts a 7 out of 10 and do them every day. You're gonna get far more training hours. You're gonna spike your metabolism far more often. Your energy levels, your mood is gonna be far more up, and training is gonna be more addictive.
Now, what kind of training do you do at this stage? Like, you're not competing, but you're constantly in there sparring with guys who are professionals, and you're constantly training them. Like, what kind of stuff do you do?
I do jiu-jitsu, wrestling, Muay Thai, and a small amount of conditioning after practice. I'm too bored. I find jumping hurdles and throwing, like, doing weights and stuff. Me personally, I don't find that I don't have to take that much enjoyment of it. I can do 5 to 20 minutes in a practice.
Isn't that because sparring is just so fun?
So much fun. I'm in a flow state. We're having fun. You know,
Right.
we're wrestling.
Yeah.
I think conditioning, you can't get away with it. You need it. You need it. And we got to talk about what George was saying on your podcast, that he doesn't do strength and conditioning. There's a language issue there. There's a language issue. And we got to talk about that, because we've done tremendous amounts of strength and conditioning, me and George, like tremendous, like barrels full. Okay. And, but he has a different definition. There's a misunderstanding. Okay. So I really want to clarify that. But me personally, like, look, if we roll for an hour, for me, it passes like this.
Because it's so fun.
It's so fun. We're having a good time. I'm fascinated. Like, oh, you grab like this. Like, I'm always learning new things.
Right.
To do swing a kettlebell, to do push-ups, pull-ups, I can only do that for a finite amount of time. So I'll put a timer, 3 rounds, 2 minutes, and I'm doing it. And I bite the bullet and I do it. That keeps me healthy. But I don't go in practice to just do that. That I never do. It's always after my workout, after I do jiu-jitsu.
So you never have a day where you say, today I'm going to do Olympic lifting.
No, I don't think Muhammad Ali ever did that. Muhammad Ali never, he boxed and then he did his conditioning. Mayweather does his conditioning, then he boxes. It always came together. Why? When I go to the gym, I'm going to go have fun. I'm going to go wrestle. I'm going to go box. I'm going to have a blast. Then I'm going to grab the kettlebell. I'm going to do a few presses. I'm going to do a few Turkish get-ups, and I'm done. Because I need to have some general fitness. You have general fitness, then you have specific fitness. Specific fitness is to get better at my sport. General fitness is to keep me healthy, strong, and allow me to reach new levels of athleticism that later, in the long term, can translate to my sport later. But if you just do your sport, in my opinion, your system's going to break down. Your back's going to break down. Your knee's going to break down. Your shoulder's going to break down. You need to stimulate certain muscles that are not getting stimulation in your specific sport. You create atrophy in certain muscles because you're not using them really.
Right.
I need to work my stabilizers. I need to swing the kettlebell. I need to squat. I need to do certain exercises.
Like, what are the standard cores? Kettlebells, is that like
Triple
your main...
extension is number one. So any type of squatting maneuver. I don't particularly use the squat. I like to use
triple extension?
Triple extension. So your knee, hip, and ankle are bending. So like a squat. Your knee, hip, and ankle are bending. I like to jump. I like to throw the med ball a lot against the wall. I like to do hurdles. I like to do box jumps. I like to very low impact plyometrics. I like sprinting. Sprinting is huge. You ever do the beep test?
What's that?
Oh, you got the space for the beep test here. You got to implement beep test. It's the best way to do cardio.
Really?
You ever hear the soccer players use it a lot? It's a beep, right? You run, you beep, and then it beeps back. And the faster the beeps go, the faster you have to run. That's really amazing. Because what I do is I set a timer for 5 minutes. I put it on a high pace. Like I'll put it 10 or 11. And I'll just shuttle back and forth. And it tells you how fast to run, the beep test. And some days I feel really good. I'll do 11. Because I know how fast I have to run to keep up with the beats. And it's amazing for cardio. It's short, sweet, painless. And it's very, it translates very well to sports.
Do you do Tabatas? Do you ever do Tabata?
Tabatas are good. Yeah. I think Tabatas are good. If they're done well, they're good. But again, you have to do it in a way that doesn't create soreness. Because Tabata can create soreness. You have to be very. I wouldn't do Tabata kettlebell swing. That'll cook my hamstrings. I'll probably do like hurdle jump. Like you take a small hurdle and you just hurdle over it for 20 seconds.
Now, what you're saying though, like there's got to be a bunch of CrossFit people out there right now that are screaming into their phones.
They're wrong. All due respect. They're wrong.
I like how you say all due respect.
With all due respect, they're wrong. Let me tell you why.
Okay.
And look, if you like CrossFit, do it. Whatever motivates you, do it.
Okay.
CrossFit's problem is it's fatigue seeking.
Yes.
It says, look, go out there and burn yourself out.
Yeah.
That's totally wrong. They're not building any skill. Try to show me a guy who's a champion in CrossFit, champion in Jiu-Jitsu. That guy would need 2 lifetimes to reach mastery in both of those. Why? Because my CrossFit workout is going to tax me so much. I cannot learn armbar, sweep, triangle, choke, double leg takedown, underhook. I've taxed my whole system. My system is in recovery. When your system is in recovery, what can you do but rest? You understand? Mm-hmm. Okay, Rafa Mendes. Do you think Rafa Mendes, arguably the greatest pound for pound, one of the greatest pound for pound jiu-jitsu guys in the world, do you think he's got a great CrossFit workout that he's really mastered, he's really good at? Do you think he has a great back squat? Do you think he's a great deadlifter?
Doesn't look like it.
No, he doesn't. Believe me. You think Gordon Ryan? He's a great Olympic lifter? No, they're always going to be at an amateur level in the fitness world. Why? Because if they were experts, they would have taken so much from their jiu-jitsu. Like look at George. He does gymnastics. Okay, and I'm the one I twisted his arm a little to put him in gymnastics.
Why?
Because I thought it would give him tremendous benefit because of the amount of, first of all, they use a lot of body weight, so it doesn't cost us anything neurologically. Body weight exercises are very easy to recover from. Body weight exercises are very easy on the nervous system. They use leverage instead of weights. Plus, the stabilizer strength is unbelievable. So, and of course, I wanted coordination. I felt George was a little bit stiff, mechanical. And the tumbling makes you more fluid. I thought I would create more efficiency this way. So we get him there, and there's difficulties, okay, from A to F. We're still at A and B, and he'll always be at A and B. Maybe he'll touch C in his career, but he'll never get to F. You'd have to start really young, and you'd have to do it full time. You know, imagine somebody trying to get good at jiu-jitsu doing it part-time. He'll never get good. He'll be so-so. He'll reach such a level. CrossFit is too fatigue-seeking for an MMA fighter. Now, if CrossFitters followed, if they just followed that 70% rule, they could, and periodically went to their max, periodically, as opposed to every single workout, go totally out. I bet you their top guys don't go all out every day. I bet you if you watch what their top guys do, they taper off the workout. They make the workout between 70 and 85% of their true max, and they work volume. And then closer to competition, they go higher in intensity. I guarantee you that's what the best CrossFitters do. There's no way that the guy who goes balls out every day is going to add up as much workout and as much training time as the guy who's going 70 to 85% of his max. There's just no way.
But when they do those classes, like say if they do a CrossFit class, and I'm speaking out of ignorance, honestly, because I only watch them on video. I've never done a CrossFit class. But it seems to me they're competing against each other.
Yeah, they're going all out, trying to set a PR every class.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. All due respect, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
But why is it so popular?
Because people think that's right. Because why? Because when you watch a prime time or a fight, the guy's at the peak. He's at a point in his training camp where he's at the high end of intensity. So people are always watching the last part of your camp, the part where you're peaking, and then you're going to go taper off for 10, 15 days. They don't see that part, and they don't see the months before where you ramped up to that level. They just see the last 2-3 weeks where it's the last few sparrings, and we're mimicking fight speed to the maximum as we can.
Yeah.
We're flirting with danger here. We're only doing it a little bit, but that's the part everybody's watching. So they think, oh, if you want to become really good, you have to flirt with danger every day. That's what their workouts are. If you see George train throughout the year, you'd be like, hey, that wasn't so intense. That wasn't so intense. There's another really mellow practice. I remember when I was younger, I was training at the Grant Brothers gym, and I would see Otis Grant. You know, he's a world champion boxer. Everybody knew him in Canada. He's the man. And he was training really relaxed. I was like, dude, I'm training harder than him. But that's his millionth workout. It was my 10th, you know? He's doing in the long run. He's added way more years of training. So that's when I started to understand that the champion, the best guy, he's training for the long run. It's far more intelligent. He's getting far more workouts in than me that's burned out, and the next day I need a rest.
Right, yeah.
So it's consistency over intensity.